of the Polish Academy of Sciences in Warsaw, Poland, and I'm also employed by Polotsk State University in Belarus, which is my home country. So basically now I mainly live in Belarus. I would like to present today an outcome of my research, which is related to the current developments of the Orthodoxy and of the Orthodox churches in Europe.
Va a ser una presentación básicamente sobre la realidad de la Iglesia Ortodoxa en Europa. Ya antes había dicho que él trabajaba en la universidad en Polonia y un poco, digamos, contó un poquitito de los estudios, de las cosas donde él está asociado. Eso.
So the plan of my presentation will be as follows. I would like to give you some sort of observation of the current situation with the Orthodoxy in Europe, and then I shall speak on two particular case studies.
Va a hablar primero de una situación como general de la Iglesia Ortodoxa en Europa y de ahí va a tomar dos casos particulares para explicar mejor la situación.
A case study of the priest from Great Britain who converted from Anglican Church to the Orthodox Church.
Un sacerdote primero que se convirtió de la Iglesia Anglicana a la Iglesia Ortodoxa en Gran Bretaña. Ese va a ser uno de los casos.
And a case study of a priest from Belgium who converted from the Catholic Church to the Orthodox Church.
Y un sacerdote de Bélgica que se convirtió de la Iglesia Católica a la Iglesia Ortodoxa.
And of course, after the end of the presentation, I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Y que después puede contestar las preguntas que nosotros queramos.
Now I would like to say you a few words about the main features of the Orthodoxy in Europe. So, first we can observe the coexistence of several jurisdictions in a given territory. So if we take into account almost any European country, apart from the country where there are some autocephalous churches like Greece, Romania, Bulgaria and Cyprus, so except these particular countries, in all other countries there will be coexistence of several different jurisdictions.
Básicamente hay muchas jurisdicciones de diferentes iglesias ortodoxas que coexisten en los diferentes países en Europa. Ruso, antioqueño, de diferentes...
Yeah, like Moscow, Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia, Antioch, Constantinople, etc. In most European countries, there is a lack of real support from the state to the Orthodox Church.
No hay soporte del Estado para las iglesias ortodoxas en todos estos países.
Although it exists in some few isolated cases, like in Belgium and Estonia.
En Bélgica y en Estonia sí hay algo de apoyo estatal para la iglesia.
Since many parishes are quite small and are not able to support financially their priests,
las iglesias son chiquititas y no tienen digamos, la plata para poder soportar, digamos, mantener al sacerdote.
So, clergy has to combine their priest duties with some secular jobs. Like I found that some priests work as teachers or lecturers at the universities, some have office work, some work as cleaners, drivers, etc.
Tienen que trabajar de lo que sea para poder mantenerse, desde estar limpiando, enseñando, manejando, lo que sea.
And the Orthodoxy in general is not very well known for European countries.
La ortodoxia en general no es muy conocida en los países europeos.
Often these are the ethnic communities of Russians, Romanians, Greeks, etc. But in some cases there are some opposite examples when the churches consist of people of nationalities who live there, like there are churches consisting of French people and of German people and of British people, services translated into the national languages, and there is a sort of missionary activities.
En algunos países sí hay algo de actividad misionera, los cuales se han traducido los textos.
But this is probably not a rule. This is more an exception.
Solamente son una excepción.
Now I would like to draw your attention to my first case study about the Orthodoxy in Great Britain and about the story of the conversion of the priest.
A partir con el primer caso de estudio en Gran Bretaña.
I would like to emphasize that the figures I am given here has been calculated before the start of the Russia-Ukraine war and before the immigration of Ukrainians, because after the war there appeared some new Ukrainian parishes but these parishes are not taken into account into my calculations.
Todos estos cálculos y estos números están hechos en base a antes de que comenzara la guerra entre Ucrania y Rusia, que después llegaron muchos ucranianos que se han abierto otras comunidades, pero esos son los números que estaban antes de que comenzara todo el conflicto.
So if you take into account the whole country of the United Kingdom of Great Britain, there are around 300 parishes
300 parroquias
of different jurisdictions,
de diferentes jurisdicciones.
mainly of Constantinople Patriarchate. Many parishes use English language, although if we speak about the parishes of Greek origin, they continue to use Greek language, and in many parishes of the Moscow Patriarchate, the Slavonic language is used as a language of the
El inglés
service.
se sigue utilizando en muchas parroquias, si son rusas, el ruso, si son, o sea, el slavónico, y si son griegas, también el idioma griego, si son del Patriarcado de Constantinopla.
Liturgy and many other services, like Vespers, Martins, have been translated into English, but there is no single or united edition of the translation, and in some translations different forms are used. For example, when you speak about God, how you apply to God, in some translations it will be the form thee, in some translations it will be you, and so on.
No hay una traducción común para en todos los países. En algunas se ocupa una forma u otra forma de referirse a Dios como usted o como tú.
So basically, it means that if you go to a different parish, you can hear liturgy in English in different various forms.
Que se puede escuchar la liturgia en inglés, pero en diferentes formas entre las diferentes parroquias.
Many Orthodox parishes do not have their own buildings, and they rent buildings.
Arriendan, muchas parroquias no tienen templo propio y lo arriendan tanto de católicos como anglicanos.
Yes, from the Catholics or Anglicans. But in some cases, some parishes in different parts of Britain managed to construct their own buildings, and now I would like to show you some examples of the buildings which were constructed in different parts of Great Britain.
Va a mostrar algunas de las parroquias que sí han sido construidas en Gran Bretaña, la tradición ortodoxa.
For instance, this is the Saint King Lazarus Church in Birmingham. This is the church which was constructed by the Serbian Orthodox parish.
Esta es una iglesia serbia del rey San Lázaro.
This is the Orthodox Church of Intercession or Pokrov in Manchester. It's a Russian Orthodox Church of the Moscow Patriarchate.
Es del Patriarcado de Moscú, en Manchester.
This is Saint Aidan's Church in Manchester of the Antiochian Patriarchate.
Una iglesia antioqueña, la más feita, no quiero decirlo yo que soy antioqueño. The other churches were so nice, Antiochian, we are Antiochians, you know. Is it not? I'm just joking.
They just purchased a building and converted it into the church. So it was a different building.
I can see.
Because in previous cases they built the churches from the scratch. From the scratch they just built new buildings, and they were able to construct the buildings in some traditional like Byzantine or Byzantine-like style. But in this case it was just a building purchased by the community.
Simplemente la transformaron para hacer una iglesia ortodoxa.
And this is a building which is rented in Aberdeen. It's a King's College Chapel of the Aberdeen University, and it was used by the local Russian Orthodox community for conducting services.
Esta está simplemente arrendada. Eso también para que uno vea acá, excuse me, I will take just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Para que uno vea también que hay distintas formas de hacer iglesia. A veces acá uno se cierra mucho en decir hay que construir, hay que hacer algo. Veamos también estos ejemplos que arriendan o transforman casas en iglesias, y eso le da una mayor fluidez para poder hacer mayor cantidad de comunidades.
And it is a very interesting church in Oxford, which previously was used by two different patriarchates, Moscow and Constantinople, before the split, which happened in Great Britain in 2006. So after the split between Moscow and Constantinople happened in Britain in 2006, the Russian Orthodox community moved out from the church, and currently this Orthodox church is only used by the Ecumenical or Constantinople Patriarchate.
Después de la división, del quiebre entre la gente del Patriarcado de Moscú y el Patriarcado de Constantinopla, esta iglesia quedó solamente para una parte y la otra parte se fue, digamos, de la iglesia.
And now a few words about priest Gregory Hellum, an Englishman who converted into the Orthodoxy. He is from the Antiochian Patriarchate.
El patriarcado de Antioquía, el sacerdote se llama Gregory Hellum, y él es uno de los casos que va a contar.
So formerly he was a priest in the Church of England. And in 1992 he decided to become the Orthodox, so he converted in Orthodoxy more than 30 years ago, and since 1995 he has been a priest in the Antiochian Patriarchate.
Se convirtió en el año 92 y después de eso llegó al sacerdocio en el año 95.
When I interviewed Father Gregory, he provided the following reasons why he left the Church of England and joined the Orthodox Church.
¿Por qué se convirtió de la iglesia anglicana a la iglesia ortodoxa?
First, he explained that the links have been broken in the Anglican Church between the Holy Scriptures and the Holy Tradition.
Que se había primero como roto los lazos de la Sagrada Escritura y la Santa Tradición en la iglesia anglicana.
There is no proper understanding of authority in the Church of England, including the one which is necessary to make decisions.
Que no había tampoco un entendimiento propio, profundo de la autoridad de la iglesia anglicana, incluyendo la autoridad necesaria para poder tomar decisiones.
The concepts of salvation in Orthodoxy and Anglicanism are very different.
Los conceptos de la salvación son muy diferentes.
And finally, one of the reasons which actually led to the decisions of many priests of the Church of England to leave the Anglican Church was a decision to make possible the ordination of women into priesthood, and now even into bishops.
La ordenación, como el paso final que lo llevó a él y a muchos otros sacerdotes a dejar la iglesia anglicana, fue la ordenación de mujeres, primero al sacerdocio y ahora al episcopado.
Father Gregory has willingly chosen Orthodoxy, although some Anglican priests converted into Catholicism.
Él quería y está como contento también con esta decisión de haberse convertido a la ortodoxia, aunque algunos otros anglicanos se convirtieron al catolicismo.
At the same time, he is not very optimistic about the state of affairs of the Orthodoxy in Britain.
Pero no está muy optimista de la situación de la iglesia ortodoxa en Gran Bretaña.
And in the interview, he gave the reasons for that. He said that we, the Orthodox Christians, are like an exotic orchid flower in the garden, attended by people who look after such things. But we are absolutely of no concern to the authorities whatsoever, because, as he said, we have no significance, we have no impact, because we keep our head down and because we do not want to be involved.
Bueno, dice un poco que la situación es difícil, tratan de ofrecer como una flor muy exótica, muy bonita en este jardín a la gente que quizás lo está buscando, pero la autoridad él ve que no tiene ninguna, que no les da ninguna importancia a todo esto, no tiene ninguna significación para las autoridades de lo que ellos están haciendo.
Father Gregory explains that Orthodox Christians are quite exotic for the Anglicans, and they can see some beautiful hymns, beautiful singing, icons, beautiful theological reasoning, etc. But from the point of view of the Anglicans, the Orthodox are interesting and valuable for them, because Orthodox, as the Anglicans say, are Catholics, but not Roman Catholics. And the only reasons why Anglicans love the Orthodox is because the Orthodox give them some status, some self-respect in the face of the Roman Catholics. Anglicans one time hoped very much that the Orthodox would recognize their ordination and apostolic succession. But this didn't happen. But in matters of morality, Anglicans inevitably will submit to the government pressure, accepting what they previously considered unacceptable. And Father Gregory thinks that in a given time, the Church of England will come to the recognition even of the same-sex marriages, because now this issue is discussed in the Church of England.
Voy a partir desde lo último que dijo el día de hoy. La Iglesia Anglicana ya está conversando el tema del reconocimiento de los matrimonios del mismo sexo, para lo cual para mucha gente, obviamente para anglicanos, algunos lo van a aceptar y para otros es totalmente inaceptable. Y también está contando antes que quizás mucha gente se sentía muy atraída a la Iglesia Ortodoxa por cosas más bien externas, los íconos, música, cosas así. Para otros les da una cosa como de un estatus un poco superior por el tema también de tener sucesión apostólica.
When Father Gregory spoke about the Orthodox mission in Great Britain, he emphasized that the Church of England is really now in a big trouble, because parishes are closing and the number of parishioners in the Anglican Church is decreasing. And he was asking, what should we, the Orthodox, do in such a situation? Are we going to stand by and watch the stagnation of Christianity in Great Britain and its replacement by another religion such as Islam?
Él ve que, o sea, digamos, la situación allá, la gente se está yendo de la iglesia anglicana, y frente a esa situación que está bajando la cantidad de parroquianos y todo eso, ¿qué debe hacer la iglesia ortodoxa? ¿Nos tenemos que quedar de brazos cruzados nosotros simplemente viendo como muchos de esos cristianos se van a otras religiones como el Islam?
After all, it is a matter of saving souls. And Father Gregory said that maybe we, the Orthodox, both priests and lay people, should become more missionary oriented and try to abandon the diaspora mentality.
Habría que abandonar, perdón, la mentalidad de diáspora y habría que tener una mentalidad mucho más misionera frente a ello, ya que estamos hablando que es la salvación de muchas almas.
And he often remembers the example of Saint Nicholas Kasatkin, who founded the Orthodox Church in Japan, or missionaries who preached the gospel in Siberia and Alaska. So after all, they all had a good idea of how to carry the good news to people of various nationalities and cultural traditions.
Habría que tomar una mentalidad mucho más misionera, como los casos que mencionó ahí de San Nicolás Kasatkin, de la iglesia en Japón y otros más que predicaron en Siberia y en diferentes partes, una mentalidad entendiendo mucho más la tradición cultural de cada uno de los países.
So the Orthodox mission in Britain actually should aim at the creation of and sort of the Orthodox culture, and the Orthodox culture should be created not only in Great Britain but also in the whole Western European countries which lack the Orthodox tradition. So basically, there is no need to rely on the existence within a Catholic or Protestant space, which, according to Father Gregory, is in a state of mortal decline. And he emphasized again one more thing, that it is very necessary to get rid of the mentality of the diaspora, to get rid of from the concept that the Orthodox communities in the West are just an extension of the Mother Church. And he believes that such an approach, when the churches are seen as an extension of the Mother Church from abroad, inevitably leads to the heresy of Philetism.
Se puede caer en una herejía que es el filetismo, que es creer que en el fondo que es como una especie como de embajada, que las iglesias son una especie de embajada de estas otras iglesias grandes que están afuera en su propio territorio, que más bien habría que tener una mentalidad mucho más misionera, mucho más abierta para tratar de hacer que eso sea parte de esa propia cultura, de ese lugar, y sobre todo lo que sea en el occidente, no tan solo traer algo desde afuera, pero que se incorpore en la cultura local.
Now please allow me to move to a second case study, Orthodoxy in Belgium.
Ahora voy a hablar de la ortodoxia en Bélgica.
Around 100 parishes were in Belgium before the Ukrainians moved there this year and last year.
De 100 parroquias antes de que se fuera una gran cantidad de ucranianos que llegaron a todas esas partes.
As a rule, as in many other European countries, these are the diaspora parishes.
Parroquias de la diáspora.
Very interesting that in Belgium, Orthodoxy has been recognized as one of the official religions.
Está reconocida como una de las religiones oficiales en Bélgica.
And for that reason, the state provides some financial assistance to the priests and to the teachers of the foundation of Orthodoxy at schools.
Y por ese motivo, por el reconocimiento oficial, entonces tienen algo de ayuda del Estado.
So if there is a certain number of parishioners, I don't know exactly how many parishioners, it should be I think around 100. So if you have around 100 parishioners in your parish, it's possible for a priest to apply for getting salary from the state.
Si tienes más de 100 personas o más en ese número, tú puedes aplicar para tener un sueldo que viene desde el Estado.
It's probably one of the few exceptional examples in Europe.
Uno de los pocos ejemplos, digamos, excepciones que hay en toda Europa.
And the liturgy has been translated into the two main languages of Belgium, French and Dutch.
Que ha sido traducida a los principales idiomas como
sometimes in Belgium they call it Flemish language, that it's a different language they say from Dutch. But obviously, I mean, for me, I do not see some great differences because it's probably a reflection of certain, Flemish nationalism when they try to be very much separate from the Netherlands and from any mentioning of the Dutch language.
Que prácticamente lo mismo, pero para los nacionalistas les gusta decir que tienen su liturgia en ese idioma propio, en el flamenco.
Now I would like to show you several photographs of the Orthodox parishes in Belgium.
Nos va a mostrar varias fotos de la ortodoxia en Bélgica.
This is St. Nicholas Church in Belgium, so it is located just in a residential building on the first floor.
En el primer piso de un edificio residencial, la iglesia San Nicolás en Bruselas.
This is the church of Saint Alexander of Neva, Alexander Nevsky, and Saint Seraphim of Sarov, Seraphim Sarovsky in the city of Liège.
Eso está en Liège.
This is Saint Trinity Church in Charleroi.
Ustedes entienden.
And this is Saint Trinity Church in Brussels. So it is also a separate building. It used to be a Protestant church. It was purchased by the Orthodox community and converted into the Orthodox
Era un
church.
edificio protestante que después se transformó en una iglesia ortodoxa.
And this is Saint Job Church in Brussels of the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia.
La
Rokor.
iglesia de la Rocor que tienen allá en Bruselas.
And now a presentation about Father Thomas Jacobs, whom I met several years in Belgium and also interviewed him. Regrettably, he died several years ago, but it is a very interesting example of a person who converted from Catholicism into the Orthodoxy.
Él era católico, falleció algunos años atrás, el año 2019. Él se cambió, digamos, se convirtió a la iglesia católica a la iglesia ortodoxa y él lo pudo entrevistar en ese tiempo.
And he also had some links with South America because he conducted some missionary activities in Peru, where he founded a parish.
Y él también tiene algunos vínculos con Latinoamérica, donde había fundado una misión en Perú.
So Archimandrite Thomas, his secular name was Geert, was born in 1950 in Brussels in a Catholic family. He converted into the Orthodoxy when he was 22, and he became a hieromonk when he was 28.
Bueno, nació en el año 50 en Bruselas, una familia católica, se convirtió a la ortodoxia al 72 y llegó a ser hieromonje. Hieromonje es un sacerdote que también es monje, o un monje que también es sacerdote.
And he was recounted a story from his mother, that when he was in his mother's womb, she went to the miracle-working statue of the Theotokos near Brussels. It is a statue of a black color, and Catholics call it Black Madonna. And Father Thomas' mother asked Virgin Mary that her first child would be a boy, and that he would be a unique one in his way. And probably, as Father Thomas told me, Theotokos heard this praise, because it was very unusual for our region to become Orthodox.
La mamá de él, o sea, cuando él estaba todavía en el vientre materno, fue a donde una estatua de la Virgen María, cerca de Bruselas, una estatua de color negro, se llama la Madonna Negra, ¿eh? Y su madre le pidió a la Virgen María que su primer hijo fuera un hombre, y que iba a ser el único, y probablemente la Theotokos, la Virgen María, escuchó esas oraciones, por eso él llegó a ser ortodoxo, algo muy inusual en esa región.
At the age of 17, Geert Jacobs decided to join a Catholic Benedictine monastery in Brugge.
Entró primero a un monasterio benedictino.
And he studied theology at Leuven University and at the Catholic Seminary in Brugge. And at that time, in the 1960s, there were some heated debates about the decisions of the Second Vatican Council.
Habían todos unos debates en esos tiempos por las decisiones del Concilio Vaticano II, cuando él estaba estudiando en el seminario católico.
Archimandrite Thomas explained that everything began to change, and in the wrong direction. Many questions came to my mind, and I decided to know what the Church Fathers say.
Con todos estos problemas que pasaban y con todas las cosas que él veía que estaban yendo en una dirección equívoca, él se empezó a preguntar qué es lo que los santos padres decían sobre esto.
So he was reading Saint John Chrysostom, Saint Basil the Great, and some more contemporary theologians, including Bishop Callistus Weyer from England, who wrote his famous book, The Orthodox Church.
Él empezó a averiguar más sobre lo que decía San Juan Crisóstomo, San Basilio el Grande y otros teólogos más contemporáneos, incluido el obispo Callistus Weyer. Y él quería saber qué es lo que ellos pensaban sobre eso.
But he also wanted to communicate with the real Orthodox people.
Él también quería hablar con la gente ortodoxa, qué es lo que pensaba.
And once it happened, he met Archbishop Jacob Akkersdijk. Archbishop Jacob Akkersdijk is a Dutchman, a former Catholic monk who converted to the Orthodoxy, and he is one of the founders of the Orthodox monastery of Saint John the Baptist in The Hague, the Netherlands.
Él se juntó con el arzobispo Jacob, que era un hombre que había sido antiguamente católico y que se había convertido a la fe ortodoxa y había sido el fundador del monasterio San Juan Bautista en la allá.
Archimandrite Thomas explained that by the grace of God, an Orthodox bishop from the Netherlands, Jacob Akkersdijk, came to visit us at the Benedictine monastery. It worked out so wonderfully that I could not sleep that night. At midnight, I went to the church. Archbishop Jacob was there. Fixing his eyes on me, he said, I was waiting for you. We talked with him until 4 o'clock in the morning.
Dice que en la noche él no podía dormir, fue como, digamos, fue a visitar este lugar y que entró a la iglesia a las 4 de la mañana y ahí el obispo lo estaba esperando, lo miró y le dijo, yo te estaba esperando a ti. Y ahí el obispo lo invitó a visitar el monasterio.
So we talked with him until 4 o'clock in the morning, and Archbishop invited me to visit the monastery, recalling the biblical words, come and see.
Y le dijo, le recordó las palabras bíblicas, ven y ve.
So basically it was necessary for Gerd to get a permission from the abbot of the monastery to go to the Orthodox
Le
monastery.
pidió una bendición al abad del monasterio donde él estaba para poder ir a conocer este otro monasterio.
But it was not easy.
No fue fácil.
And instead of the Orthodox monastery in The Hague, the abbot offered him to go to Chefton. In Chefton, there is a Catholic monastery in the French-speaking part of Belgium, where a Byzantine-style liturgy is served in Slavonic.
En vez de querer darle la autorización o la bendición para que fuera a ese monasterio ortodoxo, le dijo que fuera mejor un monasterio católico, pero de rito bizantino, que hacían los servicios en el amónico.
Yeah. But Gerd told him that if I go there, I shall not be able to understand anything because it is all in Slavonic, although it is a Catholic monastery.
Decía que no iba a entender nada entonces porque estaba todo en el laónico.
But in the Hague, in the Orthodox monastery, everything is clear because it is in the Dutch language.
Pero en cambio en el otro monasterio, el monasterio ortodoxo, era todo en holandés.
And fortunately, one of the brothers of the monastery offered his help, and he told I will go with him to ensure some control.
No te preocupes, un hermano del monasterio le iba a acompañar y le iba a decir, va a estar todo bajo control, yo como que lo voy a cuidar.
And so eventually the abbot of the monastery decided to let them go.
Entonces lo acompañó como con un chaperón, como con un acompañante.
So he went to the Orthodox monastery in The Hague, and he got some very, very positive impressions from the monastery.
Muy positiva en este otro monasterio.
At that time, The Hague monastery just purchased a new church, and everyone was happy about it. As for me, the few days which I spent in the monastery were a real revelation.
Fue una total revelación esos días que él estuvo ahí. La gente también estaba muy contenta porque el monasterio había adquirido una nueva iglesia en ese tiempo.
I could not imagine before that the Christian religion and the service of the liturgy could be so close to a person's heart.
Nunca pensó que el servicio ortodoxo iba a ser tan cercano al corazón de una persona.
I returned to Brugge with doubts and with many questions.
Y volvió después de eso con muchas dudas.
And so the mentors of the monastery, when they saw my conditions, told me and warned me that you must not abandon the religion of your fathers.
Le decían, no puedes abandonar la religión de tus padres.
This is a great sin, and you will become a traitor.
Vas a ser un traidor a la religión de tus padres.
And you will be judged for that.
Vas a ser juzgado por eso.
However, in spite of all these warnings, Gerd, after 6 months, decided to leave the monastery in Brugge and to become the Orthodox.
Así todo, él decidió dejar todo eso y llegar a la ortodoxia.
And he applied to Archbishop Jacob with a request to receive him in the Orthodox Church.
Pidiéndole a él que fuera recibido como ortodoxo.
So after becoming the Orthodox and serving for some time in The Hague, Father Thomas founded his own monastery in Pervais.
Después de algún tiempo estar ahí, él, digamos, llegó y fundó su propio monasterio.
Currently, the main language in the monastery is Dutch language. The monastery is missionary oriented, and it became a sort of focal point for some local people who became to get some information about the Orthodoxy, and some of them even converted into the Orthodox Church.
Obviamente el local que fundó está orientado a la mentalidad misionera, totalmente abierto, especialmente para todos los belgas que están buscando la verdad.
As he explained, some Belgians come to us because they are looking for the truth. Others are coming among those who are sick and have tried all the methods of treatment, who have gone through doctors psychiatrists, Catholic priests, etc.
Otros buscan la sanación física también, al margen de la sanación espiritual.
They come and see that the Orthodoxy gives them the strength to rise. I accept into the Orthodoxy through chrismation, first demanding recognition of the dogmas of the Orthodox Church. And we try to show the beauty of Orthodoxy for everyone.
Y él trata de que la gente, digamos, cuando se conviertan, que acepten los dogmas de la Iglesia Ortodoxa por la crismación, y también que vean la belleza de la ortodoxia para toda la gente.
It's very interesting that when you come to the monastery, at the entrance on the right side you can see the icon of Saint John Maximovich. Probably you know the name. He was some time ago. He served also in San Francisco in the United States. Yes, in Shanghai. And it's very interesting because actually Saint John has never been in the monastery. And when I was trying to find out why the icon was placed just at the entrance of the monastery, I was told by another priest from the Netherlands an interesting story. That actually when Archimandrite Thomas was very young, when he was a child, he accidentally met Saint John Maximovich in Belgium. So there was a story that he was waiting a train at a train station, and a slightly strange man appeared on the platform, dressed in a black cassock with a beard and long hair. So the guys, his schoolmates, began laughing at him. But Gerd, Father Thomas, at the time Gerd, stood behind this unusual man, but he did not laugh.
Cuando era mucho más joven, cuando era pequeño, tuvo un encuentro con, porque dice que a la entrada del monasterio está hay un icono de San Juan Maximovich, y que él cuando había sido pequeño lo había visto, o sea que muchos estaban riendo de él porque era un hombre con una sotana negra, y él en cambio en vez de reírse como los demás compañeros de él, dice que tuvo otro comportamiento con él, frente a ese hombre tan distinto que no se rió de él.
And suddenly Archbishop John, and it was he turned around and looked Gerd straight into his eyes. And he looked for a short time, maybe 10 seconds, no more, and nobody said a single word. But instead of the words, the eyes were speaking. So later Gerd converted into the Orthodoxy, and he has never met Archbishop John again, but he became his admirer just from one single short meeting.
Dice que simplemente lo miró durante 10 segundos y que eso fue suficiente, que después nunca más se juntó con él, pero vio que sus ojos estaban hablándole, y que eso, si bien nunca más se juntó con él, pero fue muy fuerte todo ese momento que tuvo con él.
Archbishop Thomas emphasizes that the mission should be open to all, and the idea that the Orthodoxy is only for Russians, for Greeks or for Georgians is fundamentally wrong.
Que la ortodoxia tiene que estar abierta para todos, y que pensar que solamente es para los rusos, los griegos, los georgianos es totalmente incorrecto.
We see the meaning of our mission in the pastoral care of not only the Flemish local people, but also people of other nationalities.
Para todas las nacionalidades.
We want to help everyone to understand that the Orthodoxy is not a sign of ethnicity, but it is a sign of the faith.
La ortodoxia debe ser una señal, o sea, no puede ser una señal de etnicidad, pero una señal
And
de
the
la
faith,
fe.
the Orthodox faith, as a faith, should be put on the first place.
Y esa fe tiene que ser lo primero para todos. Tiene que ponerse en primer lugar, eso, más que lo étnico, a ese punto.
Now, dear brothers and sisters, probably, yeah. I wrote quite a few articles and 2 books on the Orthodoxy in Europe, but these books were published in the Russian language. So the first book, Orthodoxy in Europe, Testimonies of Our Days, and the second book, larger book, Orthodox Church in Europe, from Reykjavik to Tallinn.
Son los 2 libros que él ha publicado sobre la situación de la Iglesia Ortodoxa en Europa.
I realize that not many of you will be able to read Russian, but if not, here is a link to some of my publications about the Orthodox churches in Europe in the English language. So if you follow this link, a second one, you can find some of my articles translated into English.
Lo vamos a poner en la página web también, y se lo vamos a compartir a ustedes para que los puedan ver.
And to those of you who can read Russian, you will find a lot of my different publications if you follow this link in the Russian language.
Aquí también está el link para las publicaciones que tiene él en
And if you have any questions, here is my email, so you can always send me a message,
le pueden mandar un mensaje
even in Spanish, but I will reply to you probably in English or Russian.
Sí.
Thank you very much for your attention, and now I am open to your questions.
Si tienen preguntas, si tienen algún comentario, quiero hacer un primer comentario. Quizá a veces uno pensaba que la situación en Europa iba a ser muy distinta de nuestra situación, pero nos damos cuenta por esta presentación que hay cosas que son prácticamente iguales a lo que estamos pasando acá. I was telling them that maybe we thought that the situation was totally different in Europe, but it's not so different with the with the situation that we have here. In some point, it's just the same.
So you have some similarities between
absolutely.
Chile,
Absolutely.
South America in general, and Europe.
And Europe, absolutely. It was just a kind of description of our situation here.
I see. So you can find a lot of similarities in this case.
Yes, absolutely.
Una pregunta tal vez un poco extraña, pero ¿puede haber como una manera adecuada de decirle a otras personas de otros credos, particularmente católicos romanos, que creen mucho más en el ecumenismo, que somos como la misma fe, el mismo Dios, pero decirle, no, este es nuestro camino ortodoxo, pero sin que suene como prepotente, sin que suene como...
There is a good way to preach orthodoxy to a Roman Catholic one or different people, but talking with, let me explain you, with love, not with this is the true, you know, and you are nothing. You know? What will be a better way to, in your opinion, to preach the Orthodox?
Well, I do not think if you try to press too hard, I do not think you will get a good results.
Si uno presiona demasiado fuerte, uno no va a tener un buen resultado.
Of course, every mission, every preaching should be done with love, with understanding.
La predica tiene que ser hecha con amor.
With understanding that every person has an image of God.
Cada persona tiene una imagen de Dios.
Be he or she Orthodox, Catholic, Anglican, or rather Protestant, etc.
De la religión que sea.
So it's very important to be obviously polite and to be kind to any person or a person of other faith. But at the same time, it is also very important to show, if necessary, that Orthodoxy on the one hand and Catholicism and Protestantism on the other hand are not the same religions.
Y hay que mostrar tal cual que no son la misma religión. Eso hay que ser muy firmes también con eso.
And there are differences, and in many cases some principal differences.
Y que hay que también saber y comprender y transmitir que son cosas diferentes.
And actually it's very useful, I believe. I don't know if this work has been translated into Spanish, but there is an excellent book written by Sergei Stragorodsky about the Orthodox salvation.
Y un libro muy bueno también sobre la salvación ortodoxa. From whom?
Sergei Stragorodsky. He was a metropolitan, and from 1943, just for around 2 years, he was a patriarch in the Russian Orthodox Church. Okay. Yeah, and he wrote about his book is called Orthodox Teaching About Salvation.
Enseñanza ortodoxa sobre la salvación.
And it shows very clearly all great differences between Orthodoxy and Catholicism and Protestantism in terms of the understanding of salvation.
Y enseña las diferencias que hay entre las distintas iglesias, pero en términos de la salvación, apuntándolo hacia la salvación.
I myself was a Protestant, and
I era protestante.
Although it's not very common for my country. And actually, this book was one of the reasons why I became looking into the Orthodoxy and why I eventually decided to join the Orthodox Church.
Y él que era de la iglesia protestante, que no era algo muy común para Bielorrusia, pero por esos libros y en especial por ese libro fue lo que lo motivó a él a acercarse ya a la ortodoxia.
And the book of Metropolitan Kallistos Weir in the English language, the Orthodox Church,
y el libro de la Iglesia Ortodoxa del Obispo Kallistos
is also an excellent example to show all the beauty and all the teaching of the Orthodoxy.
también libros como eso, como el de, que se lo tenemos en español, el de la Iglesia Ortodoxa de...
So it's
de
translated.
It's
It's translated. Good. Gracias.
Libros así como eso. Sí.
I have two questions. Saw that you have 300 in England and 100 in Belgium.
Yeah.
And that some are rented. Do you know how many, like a percentage of how many are real buildings and other that are rented?
It's a good question. Honestly, I have never calculated myself because I did not visit all the parishes in the countries. I visited a number of different parishes, but not all of them. So I have never inquired exactly how many parishes can be rented and built. But I think in Great Britain, more than 50% of the parishes will be built parishes. And in Belgium, I think many will be rented. This is a
Estaba preguntando sobre qué porcentaje más o menos serían arrendados o construidos en general, y como el 50% más o menos estaba diciendo.
¿Por qué la velocidad de la Iglesia Ortodoxa en evangelizar el mundo ha sido más lenta que las otras iglesias que han llegado antes?
Why the speed to convert or to evangelize of the Orthodoxy has been so slow in comparison with other churches that grow, and the Orthodoxy has been so slow?
You mean in the West?
In the West, yes.
As I said in my presentation, there is a problem of the diaspora mentality.
Primero un problema de mentalidad de diáspora.
Because still many Orthodox churches and some Orthodox priests would not welcome native people who live in the countries.
Y es que el mismo problema que hemos tenido acá, que muchos sacerdotes en el fondo no le dan la bienvenida a personas que no sean de su propia raza.
Besides, many parishes do not use local languages.
No ocupan el idioma local.
And if, say, an Englishman comes to the service where everything is in Greek or Slavonic, he will feel a bit uncomfortable.
Y si una persona viene, claro, una persona que habla solamente inglés va a un lugar donde solamente se habla en el slavónico o en griego, lo que sea, se va a sentir inconfortable.
So in many cases, the Orthodox churches in the West were growing due to the migrants coming from the Orthodox countries. And especially it became the case after many Ukrainians emigrated or were forced to emigrate to Europe. But at the same time, in those places where parishes and priests are more missionary oriented, there is a sort of growth of the parishes from the local people who come to the church and who welcome into Orthodox Christianity and who are able to listen to the services in their native languages.
Que la iglesia que tiene sacerdotes que tienen una mentalidad más orientada hacia el tema misionero, obviamente han crecido y hacen las cosas en el idioma local.
And I am sure the growth would be quicker and greater if more parishes would become more missionary
Si más
oriented.
iglesias fueran orientadas en forma misionera, obviamente el crecimiento sería más rápido.
And if they stop implementing the diaspora mentality.
Y dejar de implementar esa mentalidad de diáspora.
Gracias.
Again, it is amazing how similar is the situation with, that we have here in Chile. It's the same thing, and also in Argentina, the same problem that we have such a true in the Orthodoxy, but at the same time, we keep it just for ourselves and not showing to everyone. But every time that we open the doors of the church, and we show the truth, the reality of our faith, now our parish is full with people. Just because we open it to everyone.
Yes. I see.
Professor, we have time just to have our meeting later and then to do other things. And also el viaja también, así que estamos con los tiempos súper cortitos. Eso. Last question.
Yeah, I mean, just if you have any questions which you are not able to ask right now, please write to me and I am be more than happy to answer questions by email.
Bien fácil el email, s.mudrov@gmail.com. Así que ahí también le pueden mandar cualquier otra pregunta y a ver la buena disposición que tiene el profesor.
And I'll keep my presentation here, so if anyone wants to get it, so.
presentación puesta acá, en todo caso en el computador, así que después la podemos compartir también en internet con todos ustedes. Así que de nuevo, profesor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, let's have a
Thank you.